Hello and welcome to the SE25 cast. Today we look over the games against Watford and Swansea, remember Johnny Esther, and the cult of Kai Kai is back with a vengeance. Hello, hello! We have a slightly different pod today as we've taken the decision to roll 2 games into one and have a big old condensed double pod. Many of our regulars have come down with the affliction of having a life, and thus we've had to bring up 3 new debutantes to fill our ranks. I'm Nick, and they are Frozzy.
Hello.
Miles.
Hey guys.
And Law.
Hello.
So, let's have a little review of the action before we begin. On Sunday, we had a game at Watford, which ended in a 2-1 loss. Roberto Pereira slotted in, and Jose Holebas doubled the lead with a cross that went in straight over Hennessy's head. Wilf shook off a bit of lethargy to reply, but we couldn't find another, and the end result remained so. We were then on to another away game, as Palace took on Swansea in South Wales. A bit of a low-key game, felt almost like a pre-season friendly, featuring 2 rotated sides. Palace broke the deadlock with Alexander Sørlot's goal and held Swansea at arm's length for the rest of the game to bring home a 1-0 win. So, let's start with that Watford game. Have you got any thoughts on that one, Law?
You know, honestly, the first 35 minutes, I thought we were really good. We were pushing up the field, no problem. Andros was having a fucking field day down the wings.
Mm-hmm.
Last 10 minutes of the first half, we were falling off a bit. You know, as real wondering maybe Roy will have a word with the team. Then it turns out whatever fucking words he had with the team weren't enough, because then we completely shit the bed. You know, just to go over briefly of the second half, just there was absolutely nothing. You know.
Oh, that is brief.
Well, yeah, I think the closest word I could comes to mind is just shit, really. You know.
How about you, Frozzy?
Well, first off, I thought we played really well. Lost the edge a bit during the last 10 minutes. Second half, we completely lost the edge. Conceded straight away, like 5 minutes into it. And we conceded again with a cross. Took until Mayer come on that we played a little better. Wilf became a winger and we scored, funny enough.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't find the second goal, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, we had a bit of bad luck. I mean, you know, it's hard to tell how much of the Holebas goal, for example, was on Hennessy and how much of it was just simple bad luck. But we also didn't play well enough. It's pretty clear to me, at least, that Ward isn't quite up to Wan-Bissaka's standard at all, really. We were really missing that kind of attacking thrust, and our left wing, despite being so good this season, kind of wasn't very good. Van Aanholt wasn't great. Schlupp was another kind of slightly dull, featureless, blunt Schlupp performance, as we're becoming a little bit accustomed to. Miles, you got anything to add?
Yeah, well, it was an alright game, but I just think that, well, there are positives to take out of it. Like, we had a couple of chances, like MacArthur's and Benteke's, but we just didn't start the second half strong enough. You know, just a couple of loose passes, and for the goal, there's just no one closing Capu down, and then Pereira just good finish. The second goal was just a bit of a free goal, to be honest. I don't know if Hennessy should do better there, but there's just not much you can do about it, to be honest. But yeah, I thought it was all right.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. We weren't great. Pereira was a really interesting one. He's such a good player, Pereira. Like, I think this is maybe his second or third goal this year, because I remember him scored I think it's his third, yeah. He scored a really nice one earlier, a couple of games ago. And he really cut above. I kind of wish we had that kind of thrust from the center of midfield that they're really able to have. But hey, maybe we do.
It was touched on in the Discord on Sunday. We really miss the presence of Loftus-Cheek.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think once Mayer came on, it gave us something just a little bit extra, an extra spark in the mid. Because MacArthur, whilst he played all right, you know, he's getting on. We've been saying this for about a year and a half now. He can only do about 60 minutes and then he's fucked. So hopefully, now that Mayer's probably match fit, and hopefully he'll be getting some more game time.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he can replicate some of what RLC had last season, and it takes a bit of the pressure off Wilf as well, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, MacArthur again had one of those games, or we were saying it last pod, and beginning to sound a bit like a broken record at this rate. MacArthur ran around, didn't do too much, looked effective at times, and just kind of lets the game pass him by. And it's weird because usually you level that accusation at players who are a bit lazy. You're Berbatov types, so you kind of wait for the ball to come to them. And MacArthur, to his credit, never does that. He never sits there and waits for the ball to come to him. It's always a situation where he goes chasing the ball and doesn't get it, and then keeps chasing the ball and doesn't get it. And he never ends up with the ball. And then when he does get it, he's knackered. So it's a shame because, as we saw against Swansea, there is quite a lot of players behind him, a couple of players behind him that look the part, definitely. But we will get onto that later. As for now, how about if we had to pick a man of the match, who would yours be, Miles?
Well, it's a difficult one. There weren't many standout players, but I did think Mayer, when he came on, was quite good. But 20 minutes isn't really enough to give someone a man of the match. But I think I have to give it to Townsend. He always looks quite dangerous, whipping a couple of balls in, creating chances, and it's just hardworking. I know that he was at fault, sort of, for the Holebas goal, but he's great at tracking back, and I think he just worked really hard.
How about you, Frozzy?
I would say Zaha.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm a Zaha praiser.
All right, fair enough. I don't know. I thought Wilf was a bit, he was one of those easily wound up phases when, admittedly, Capu did 2-foot him.
Capu
Should have got red.
That was disgusting.
Yeah, that was a really shocking tackle.
It genuinely angered me to see that.
Really bad. And, Benteke was his usual kind of fine right up until you get into the final third proper, at which point he just went to pieces. So I thought Andros was a good pick, but we have missed out you, Law. What do you reckon?
I'd probably go with Townsend as well. Wilf wasn't really up to much until he scored the goal. But that actually kind of coincided to when he was allowed onto the wing a bit more. He was allowed go a bit wider and then cut in and do what he's been doing for like the past 4 or 5 years, pretty much, Definitely helped when we had the substitutes on, Soloff couldn't really do much in 10 minutes. I think he came on in like the 80th or something. So it wasn't really up to much, but Mayer was good. He came in 74, 75, something like that. Honestly, I was kind of surprised, but I would usually, I was tempted to go with Mayer, but you can't, I don't think you can. So I'll go with Andros, put in a good shift again.
Yeah, I think he's that kind of reliable presence on the right-hand side. I mean, there was, of course, a couple of enforced changes because Van Bissaka, with the unfortunate red he took against Liverpool, meant that Joel Ward had to come in, and he was sort of okay, really. I mean, if he was all right, you don't really get anywhere near the amount of attacking thrust you do with Van Bissaka. But he's your backup right back. What more can you ask from him, really? And the other enforced change was Tompkins. Tompkins, who picked up an injury in the warm-up. Kelly came in and didn't really look great. Sacco had to kind of step up and do his bit as the kind of leader of the defence there. But I'm okay with Martin Kelly so long as he plays at centre-back. But he really wasn't that convincing, unfortunately. As for the subs, we had, of course, Max Meyer, who is making more and more of a case for being included in the starting lineup with each little cameo he makes. And we also had Surlot, who came on the end for about 8 or so minutes. Couldn't really do much. But we were beaten relatively soundly, I think. Watford aren't a fantastic team, but they were, you'd think they were good value for the win, I'd say. On a luckier day for us, it was probably a draw, but they had more shots than us. They had more shots on target. You can't really argue too much with the result, unfortunately, since we were all a little bit kind of optimistic, I think, maybe coming off the Liverpool game.
Just want to mention,
Hmm.
if we're talking a little bit into the future, based off of the 3 games that I've seen so far, especially the Watford game, Benteke needs to come off at about 60 minutes next game.
Yeah.
I think he had a really pretty good game against Liverpool, right? He didn't score, but he was useful. He was doing things,
Mm-hmm.
He's 6'3", built like a brick shit house, and he was doing things, right? Watford, he was almost invisible, pretty much. And he seems to be going. There doesn't really seem to be a middle ground. It's either not so bad or regular Benteke, which we don't need. So I would say that probably, I don't know, give a bit more faith into Snorlax. He's looking. I'm not saying he's a world beater, but maybe might give Benteke a kick up the arse if he's actually got a bit of actual competition for once.
Yeah, I think that's pretty critical, really, isn't it? It's for about a year and a half now, really. Benteke's been our only proper viable striking option, and the arrival of Sørloth and the actual arrival of Jordan Ayew as well, come to think of it, has changed that situation somewhat. Now, obviously, with Sørloth, he's still on limited game time, so we don't know how good he is yet. And Jordan Ayew is a known quantity, but also he hasn't been here very long. So what we're going to do with Benteke could depend quite a lot on how he plays in the next few games, because these next few games will be the first time that we'll have some proper kind of actual options other than him. And if he responds well to that, and starts performing like you'd expect a 30 million pound, 120k a week striker, then that's fantastic. If he doesn't, then we're going to have a bit of an issue. Well, there were a few points raised actually in the wake of that game against Watford, which was how little we cross for a team that likes to play with a big man up front. We actually have the fewest attempted crosses a game, or rather, sorry, the fewest attempted crosses full stop so far in the league. So the top is Burnley with 79, which is kind of great. Man City, Liverpool, Wolves, Southampton, Huddersfield, all that. And then stone dead last with 37, just behind Brighton, is us. And considering it's not like we're getting not enough of the ball to make this happen. We really are. But we're not getting the ball in as a cross. And it's a little bit mystifying, especially since, what is it, maybe 2 seasons ago now, when we were under kind of Big Sam and all that. We played a lot of crosses. We were second in the league, in fact, in terms of raw crosses. But now we're down to stone dead last. And I'm struggling to find a reason for it, because Benteke, for all of his faults, is still really goddamn good in the air. He's fantastic. And you'd back him to win against most defenders not named, Virgil van Dijk or the real other top-tier aerially dominating defenders in this league. But we don't like to make any we don't like to be throwing it into him to see whether he can compete. And it's a little bit mystifying, and it's something I hope we change. But if we don't, then you'd assume that we'd prefer someone like Ayew, because he's better at that kind of running the channels, being kind of quick, direct, dribbling, that kind of style, than either of our other forwards. Well, all 3 of our other forwards, if you count Wickham, who, I mean, God knows. But yes, that's something to think about. I think Benteke may, especially with Sørloth's goal, have his days numbered at Palace. But we'll see. With any luck, next week he's going to score 2, and we won't be having this conversation. So, speaking of Sørloth's goal against Swansea, how much of that game did you see, Miles? What was your take on it?
Well, unfortunately, I watched the full 90, so
Ooh,
quite depressing. But yeah, the first 65 minutes were extremely boring. It was just the fact that we had like world-class players like Wan-Bissaka mixed in with like Innis and just Kelly, and it was just awful. And there was just so many safe passes. And to be honest, Swansea actually looked like they were going to win it. I think they had a player called James who looked quite dangerous.
The striker, right, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he forced a few good saves from Gator. I don't really know how to say his name.
Gator, I think.
Alligator. As soon as Andros came on, or coincidentally Ward, we looked much better. And Sørloth's goal was obviously a positive. It was a good finish, and he showed good feet, which I think Benteke doesn't really have. And yeah, then we looked a bit better after that. But I don't know, it was kind of just a meh game. Not much to really talk about.
I was genuinely angry that I watched that game for about 55, 60 minutes.
Missing Baker.
It was horrible. Like, it was. I think it was you, Nick, that mentioned it in the Discord. It was like watching a preseason game or something.
It really was, yeah.
Yeah, like there was some good flashes, some good individual performances. I think Johnny Williams was really good, all things considered. I think Sørloth, I do love him, but he was not very good up until the goal, and when Andros came on. He had one opportunity in the box to his feet. Had a couple of headers that he either couldn't get a good connection on or just missed. But yeah, it's very bit of a stop-start game for him up until the goal. And again, once we brought on the subs, it was like night and day pretty much. Even in the way that we were playing after we scored the goal, like with our defending and everything and distribution. Gator, I already love him. Should be our number 1 already. Don't care if he can't speak a lick of English. Just stick him in the sticks. I don't care. Incredibly handsome man as well. We have a lot of handsome players.
Oh, it's important.
Squad. Yeah, that's Do also think Kai, my boy Kai, he is going to be the savior of this team.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I still have faith. Okay, I've been waiting for 3 fucking years. Okay. For 3 years, I've only been able to play. I've only been able to see Kai in a Palace shirt in FIFA. Okay, but this is the year. Okay, this is the year we get to see him be our savior. Wilf 2.0, right? And you could see he was hungry for it as well. He went a bit mental here and there. He took one too many touches here and there. But that's hunger. It's hunger. Okay, he wants to break into the first team.
I will give him that. You could definitely tell that he was trying his absolute hardest to make an impression, and somehow, occasionally that resulted in a bit too much trying. He'd be chasing balls that don't need it.
I tell you why, because he doesn't want to go back to fucking Charlton on loan. Who the fuck would want to go back there? That's why he's got the hunger.
Jesus Christ. The cult of Kai never fails to interest me because he's done nothing his entire career, and yet still Palace fans reckon he's the next coming of, I don't know, I guess Wilf. Yeah, let's just use Wilf as that one. And I don't get it, but I'd like to see him do well. What is he, 24 now? I think he had his birthday the other day.
Is he the same age as Wilf?
He is 23. Okay, so not quite as old as I thought he was.
He's still a little baby,
Don't call a 23-year-old a little baby.
He is though, 23, man. He don't even have pubes yet. Like, what the
Oh God, I'll take your word for it. Frozzy, how about you?
Oh, I saw bits and pieces of it, and I saw Sørloth go, and I thought it was really worked goal. Nice pass on Riederwald.
All right, who do you reckon impressed the most though?
Mayer, he
Yeah.
got his full 90 minutes, and I thought he was our best player, along with Wan-Bissaka as well.
Yeah, I think especially with Wan-Bissaka, you can really tell the extra quality that he had. He looked like the best player on the pitch, which is you'd kind of expect since he probably is the best player on the pitch. But conversely, though, what about worst player?
Would you want me to say Ryan Innes?
Yeah, now we're talking my language.
Ooh, fuck Ryan Innes.
Oh God.
Why do people actually hate him?
Okay, so he's a massive twat. So he he glassed someone at one point. Let's put it that way. But I grew up very close to him, and he was an arsehole as a kid. And I'm assuming, judging by the fact that he's glassing people in bars in Beckenham, presumably means that he's still an arsehole. Actually, I just looked it up. He has 3 police cautions. One for public order offence, one for common assault, and one for being drunk and disorderly.
Got more police cautions than appearances for Palace.
Hey.
Well, you'd hope so, based on the strength of that display against Swansea, because he really did look pretty short of standards. There were a couple of times when who was that fella up front? Was it Cullen or James? Sorry, James. Who just mugged him off, just straight up mugged him off more than once. There was one particular one where the ball was punted into the channel and James ran towards it. Innes sort of ambled towards James, then kind of took up a defensive position between him and the goal, and he just kind of watched the ball. James just toe poked it past him and ran around him, and he just gave up. It's like, what are you? What? This is your chance. This is your chance to impress. I'm amazed the club has stuck by him throughout all of this trials and tribulation. I mean, literal trials in his case, and tribulations in his personal life. And you're gonna give up on a ball like that, and you're gonna not even look interested. No, not a fan. Innes can fuck off.
I hope he doesn't ever fucking listen to this, otherwise we're fucked.
Well, I mean, yeah, but if he tried tackling me, he'd probably just miss anyway, wouldn't he? So, it was touched on a little bit earlier about Gator, who we're all really excited to see. New keeper, after a few years of Hennessy with, sporadic old man Speroni appearances. Gator was an interesting one. He did some lovely little bits where he came out well and smothered the ball before it even got towards goal. And he's obviously good with the ball at his feet, but I got to say his kicking wasn't the best. I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but quite a lot of his kicks were quite wayward at times.
Yeah, I was getting shades of Hennessy from that.
Yeah.
But I think he does need to start. I mean, Hennessy's been all right this season, but I've had enough. I just can't deal with it anymore. We just need a solid keeper.
It's like we were talking about it a few pods ago when it said, what game do you reckon Hennessy will make a mistake in? And jury's still out on whether that Holebas cross goal was a mistake or not. But I'm kind of leaning towards it being a mistake, because there's no way a cross should be going straight in if the keeper is positioned correctly, really. Yeah, it would be nice to see Gator starting, but fix the kicks. Don't just wang it straight out to the left wing and, twat it straight out of play. Not a fan of that. What else is there? So yes, Max Meyer. Actually, this is a good one. So let's have a new and also marginalized player watch, because we haven't really seen much of the likes of Jairo Riedwald, Innes, as mentioned, Kouyaté and Meyer, and Puncheon, of course, made his return, and of course our very own Johnny Esther. So of those names I listed, Miles, who would you like to see involved in the coming games?
For me, it's got to be Maya. He's just so good. He always wants the ball. He's passing. He's got great range, and he even took a shot which looked pretty dangerous.
Yeah, it was really good shooting from range.
But yeah, touching on the other few, Kiyate looked like a midfield Sacco, and Sorloth, he was all right. The goal was good, and he has got legs, which I like. But
it's a pretty integral part of being a footballer is having legs. Actually, I find.
Oh, who else was it? Oh, Johnny Esther.
Johnny
Good.
Esther. Yes.
And Riedewald was all right. Started off in midfield and then moved to left back for some reason. His assist was okay, but yeah, I think Mayer has to start, and maybe Sorloth will start, but I think probably not.
Any chance for Puncheon?
Oh yeah, he was average. I don't know. He looks a bit past it, to be honest.
He is a bit past it, I think.
He wasn't awful. He wasn't the worst player on the pitch, but he's just not got it anymore.
How about you, Law?
I obviously have to go with Mayer. He's first team quality. You know, I think the only reason he hasn't been starting was because he needed some match fitness. You know, because I don't think he had much of a preseason. So yeah, he needs to start now. It's gotten to a point where, like you mentioned, MacArthur, he does a lot of work on the pitch, but there's not a lot of end product with him. You know, we bring Mayer in. It's something different. It's more energy because he's young as well. You know, he's got legs. He can do a full 90.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also definitely like to see Johnny Williams come on more off the bench. I'm not saying that, like, you know, he can be a first team regular, but I think after the Swansea game, you know, like, he gave a really good presentation of himself, especially considering, you know, he's had so many injuries over the years, and we've been waiting for the year when it was going to be him to be the guy, kind of thing, and where he wouldn't go out on loan and he'd finally try and make his way into the first team. And I think Roy's given him this opportunity this year, and it's what I would imagine. Yeah, same with Kai as well, is that, you know, you either show me something this year or off you fuck in the summer, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, you just
yeah. So I think, like I said, I think he gave a good account of himself against Swansea, and even though it was against like essentially a reserve team, it's a good performance. It's still a good performance, and I definitely think he's bench worthy, like to come on when we need something a little bit different, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can only beat what's in front of you. Johnny S is an interesting one. So anybody who's listening to this who has only really been a fan of or has only been following Palace since we came up, the name Johnny Esther Williams may be unfamiliar to you, but he holds a very special place in quite a few Palace fans' hearts for a reason. Because when he first broke through, he was an absolute gem of a player. I mean, like, legitimately, people thought that he might be better than Wilf by the time their careers were done. And this isn't just like idle conjecture and anything like that. It was actual based on what they were seeing in the matches. And he was just fantastic. A right little gem of an attacking midfielder. He had great skill. He worked hard, lots of vision, you know, always played for the team. But his downfall came over a series of, well, a few years, really, when he kept getting injured. Really, unfortunately. It started off with, I think, a broken right leg. And he missed about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. And then he kept on getting small niggly injuries in different parts of his body, and it never let him build up any momentum. He never established himself in the squad. He went out on loan about 5 or so times, and each time he went out on loan, the reception from the fans of the clubs that he played for was always positive. They always thought, "Oh, he's a good player. If only he didn't get injured." And throughout this, he would be putting in performances for Wales as well. He went to the Euros with them in their fantastic run and played a very important role with them. And as a result, there's always been a lot of kind of hope that eventually he would justify his unfulfilled potential. Even though as he was getting older and older, he's 24, I think will be 25 in a couple of months. We've all been hoping for him, and we've all been on his side. And I really, really do hope that this is finally the season that he can really turn it around, put those injury problems behind him, and nail down a place. And as mentioned, based on that performance, absolutely got the talent for it still, even through all these injuries. He looked really fantastic, lovely touch. Whether the ball was at his feet or whether he was making, finding some space to work with it, really great. Dribbling through players, it was like watching the Johnny Esther of old. How about you, Frozzy? Any of the new or marginalised players that you'd like to see in the upcoming games?
Mayo, obviously.
Oh, stepping away from the crowd with that one.
I like to see a little bit more of Kiate. I think he could partner up with Luca a bit.
Yeah, Kuyate was an interesting one, wasn't he? It's quite, as mentioned, quite gangly and uncoordinated. Good player though. So yeah, Kuyate. I mean, you are right. It would probably have to be in place of MacArthur, wouldn't it? Because it's not like he's a lone holding player type of midfielder, not like Luca is. Anyone else you'd like to see?
Like to see Johnny Williams get given his chance.
So say we all. How about Gyro though? I saw because Gyro was shunted around a bit that match, and he's another Discord kind of favorite, I think, or subreddit favorite is Gyro Riedewald. How was he for you?
I'd like to see more of Gyro. I don't know why he isn't playing as much. Just Roy might not see much in him.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because obviously he wasn't Roy's signing. He was De Boer requested him, but it might be something to do with the kind of lack of dynamism, maybe, because he doesn't really. I've never really seen him moving around much. It's always been a very unlike Kuyate, as we were saying. Whereas Kuyate will charge around all over the place, much like MacArthur. Gyro kind of doesn't. He sits and holds and waits. And he's a fantastic passer, probably the best passer in our team. But it is strange because he had that great game against Man City, I think it was last year, that we are still talking about. It was that good. But maybe part of it is that he never really nailed down his starting spot. Yes. Anyway, of the others, so Maya, Kuyate, Riedewald, maybe. What about Kai? What about Punchin?
Kai, he'll probably go out on loan in January.
Fair enough.
Punchin, we ain't going to see much more of him only in the Carabao Cup, really.
Yeah, I think he's probably, especially now that he's been removed as captain and replaced by Luca.
Final nail in the coffin.
Which is a shame. Let's not any of us forget how good he was for us.
Expect him for his first season.
Oh, even afterwards, his first couple of seasons for us were really good, and he rightly earned that captain's armband, and his kind of passion and love for the clubs had never been in doubt. Moving on to the present day, we did have one little debate that has been cropping up recently, and that's the big debate about the shape and the formation, which is when Roy came in, he instituted this kind of 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1 kind of shape where we'd have a flat back four, another flat four ahead of them, and then we'd have a kind of slightly fluid front two where we'd have one focal point striker and one person playing just kind of off and in and around them. And for a while it was a true 4-4-2 because we'd have both Wilf and Townsend up front, which was a strange arrangement that sort of worked and sort of didn't. But ever since Benteke's come back in, it's been that 4-4-1-1 kind of Wilf just playing off, in and around Benteke, going wherever he wants. But I'm not entirely sure where I stand, but how about you, Law? What do you reckon? Are we sticking or twisting with a 4-4-2?
I think we can stick with it in theory, but I think Wilf needs to go out a bit wider. Tends to be a bit hot and cold when he's like a lot more central. Because I don't know, maybe I'm just stuck in the past or anything, but when I think of Wilf, I just think of him cutting in from the wing and just being a complete fucking nightmare to defenders. Because if you give him a bit of a run up, like what he would get from the wing and then cut in, right? Not a lot of defenders can touch him.
He definitely gets more of the ball.
Yeah. With that being said, I do think he can still work in conjunction with Benteke, but just let him push out wide a bit more, In a perfect world, because like I don't want to see it completely be scrapped already. I mean, we're only 3 games into the new season, so. But depending on I'd say probably leading up to Christmas. If it's still a bit hot and cold, then why not just stick Benteke up front on his own, and then Andros and Wilf on the wings like it used to be. I mean, like you mentioned before, like we had one season under Sam where we had the most crosses into the box out of like all the teams in the Premiership one season, and it was a decent setup for us, and I just feel like Wilf gets a lot more freedom when he's able to just cut in and not when he gets the ball more centralized in the pitch. You've got the 2 centre backs that are always just going to swarm him no matter what, and they don't have a problem with cutting him down. That's not a problem anymore, because he's also got that little reputation of being a diver, right? That he's trying to shake off, and like it's always like brought up every now and then, like whenever there's somewhat of a contentious decision in one of our games regarding him, and he's trying to. I can definitely tell that he's trying to stay on his feet a lot more, but he's always gonna, like for the foreseeable near future, he's always gonna have that kind of diver status kind of thing, So I don't think. I think defenders are allowed a bit more of a liberty when they're defending against him. So yeah, why not just let him stick him out on the wing more? Because like when Benteke, I know Benteke is fucking oh, who am I kidding? He's fucking useless. Yeah, it's not working out. So like, either stick him up there on his own and ping some balls into him, right? He's 6'3" for fuck's sake, right? He can definitely win headers, right? We've seen that. So just ping the balls in, job done. Or even with Sorloth as well, But yeah, overall, I would say stick with the formation for now. But, depending on how it goes up until Christmas, we'll see.
This debate's an interesting one because I don't think the 4-4-2 works that well with the players we have. But I don't know, you can't just change tactics immediately. He's been working at this system for almost a season, so he obviously has faith in it. With Zaha being a striker, I think that he is better on the wing. He has a lot more impact, and that's where his goal came from and against Watford. And I think he wants to be a striker because I don't know, it sort of adds value to him because there's a lot the winger section of just players is quite saturated. There's a lot of good wingers, but there's not that many good strikers. There's sort of just like Kane, and then that's it, sort of. So he's sort of just adding value to himself, so it's more desirable to clubs. But I think 4-3-3 would work a lot better because we have got our two main strikers are big target men, and the fact we're not crossing to them is clearly an issue, which is why they're not scoring goals really. But yeah, I don't know. I think we should change, but I don't think Roy will change it. He sort of likes to just keep his lineups the same, keep his system the same, which I guess is good. I guess it's nice to have consistency.
Yeah, consistency is good, but it's whether you want to maybe see whether you can be a bit flexible with your approach. Frozzy, what do you reckon?
I do like the 4-4-2 formation, but it's just games where it just don't work, and when we change it up, when we're chasing the game, we normally go 4-3-3, right? And when we change formation, we seem to play better. Wolf goes on the wing, he offers pace and giving fullbacks a hard time, and I prefer Wolf as a winger.
Yeah, I think that's That's something that I remember having a long debate with various people about, who were determined that Wilf was in fact a striker now. But I think generally nowadays Palace fans are tending to agree that he is best out on the wing. And I am quite surprised that Roy hasn't tried a 4-3-3. I know he's a 4-4-2 man, has been for quite a long time. But even when, if you look back at that Fulham team, they were quite happy dropping a man off the front and going 4-2-3-1, or dropping a full man into midfield and having a 4-3-3, a true 3. But he's seemed very resistant to try anything otherwise with Palace. And I do wonder whether it's for the best, especially with our kind of surplus of midfielders that we're quite excited about. What with Johnny Esther and with Maya and Kouyaté coming in. Couple that to the fact that we've only got, a few strikers. I mean, God knows what the status of Wickham is. But even Ayew, who is a striker, it's uncertain how well he'll adapt to our team. And it's certainly easier to carry a kind of slightly out of form or slightly unfamiliar winger than it is to carry a striker, as we've seen with Benteke. I would quite like to see a 4-3-3. I'd like to see a true 3 in midfield. I'd like to see Luca holding, bring in Maya, and have one of MacArthur or Kouyaté, or indeed Johnny Esther, if you really want to go, full creativity in midfield. Try those 3 and just see whether we can actually create some semblance of a game through the middle. Because if we're so determined to not cross, then we might as well have some players in there who can pass. Because good as Luca is, he's not a kind of virtuoso Xavi type. And MacArthur, he's not a passer at all either, really. So that would, it'd be nice to have the flexibility at very least. But we'll see.
I mean, I'm not entirely against Wilf being a forward, but
No.
as an out-and-out striker, I think that's just doing the team a disservice, especially with the way that we have it set up at the moment.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Right then, looking ahead to the weekend, we've got Southampton at home. Anyone got any predictions for that? How about you, Frozzy? Let's kick off with a prediction from Frozzy.
All right, so we should win, and I think we will win. So 3-1.
3-1. Who's scoring?
Zaha, Benteke,
Okay.
and Max Meyer, because why the hell not?
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that one. Maya, 20-yard long shot, yeah?
It's a definite need to win game, and I hate saying that 4 weeks into the fucking season. But just purely based off of the Watford game, that was, I guess we'll chalk that up to just losing concentration for 1 week, But this Southampton team is a fucking train wreck. If we don't get free from this, then we need to have a fucking word with ourselves. So I'll go with 2-0. I think our defense. We got Wan-Bissaka back, right?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe Tompkins. Not sure yet. I don't think we've heard anything about his injury. But
it was, as far as I'm aware, not meant to be serious.
Right. So maybe he comes back. But I think with Bissaka coming back, our defense will be a lot more shored up. So yeah, I'll go with a 2-0 win. Wilf with 1 and Sorloth with another 1.
Oh, I love it. I love the Surlock belief. How about you, Miles?
Like Law said, this is a must-win. So I think we are going to win it. But I think it depends a lot on the lineup. So if Tompkins is still out, that means having to play Ward or Kelly at centre-back, which I'm not too confident about. And then, I don't know, I think Zaha will turn up for this. So I'm going to predict 2-0 if we're at full strength with Tompkins, and 2-1 if we're not.
But who's going to score?
I think Zaha, which is quite an easy prediction to make. And then a wild card like Van Aanholt or Townsend or MacArthur or someone.
I like the Townsend pick. I think he might be just about due a goal.
Yeah, definitely off the Liverpool.
Yeah, that was... bar still shaking. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. And I'm going to predict that Alexander Sørloth scores.
Of course.
King of Norway.
Oh, I was so happy. I was so happy to see him score. Oh, I really want him to do well. And I'm not really sure why. I just really want him to do well. He seems like a nice fella.
He's just lovable.
Yeah, he's just a nice, terrifying Aryan Superman. His performance against Swansea was kind of interesting because he's certainly got all the tools he could possibly need to make it work. Yeah, he's big, he's strong, he's quick. He's always surprisingly quick. You see him running after a ball in the channel, and he's legitimately a speedster, really. And that goal that he scored was well taken. Nice little, just a little turn taken away from the defender and dinked it in. Good goal. There were two things that I wasn't very impressed with, despite my love for Sørloth. See, this is his issue. I believed in him till the cows came home when he wasn't scoring, but now he's got a goal. I'm going to be harsh on him. So what I wasn't impressed with was, A, his application and work rate, which every now, you'd assume this would be the same thing I was talking about with Innes earlier. You'd assume he'd be on it straight away. He'd be out there chasing every ball, trying to beat every man, laying it off for his teammates, tussling for every header, and he just wasn't. Every now and then, he'd just kind of look at the ball and go, no, can't be bothered. And that worries me. I mean, it's certainly more of a... Striker's certainly more of a position where you can get away with that than most, but it's more the kind of preserve of the mercurial, ultra-skilled striker, that, isn't it, really? The one who kind of lazes around, doesn't do much, and then comes up with some absolute magic, like Berbatov, like Ibrahimovic, like any other number of countless numbers of extremely talented but very lazy strikers. And you get away with that because you are a striker and you can be carried a bit. With Sørloth doesn't have that kind of magic touch, which is why it worried me a little bit to see him doing that. Speaking of touch, brings me neatly onto the second thing that I was a bit concerned about, which was his first touch, which was inconsistent, let's put it that way. Every now and then he'd perfectly serviceable, and then the next one he'd receive, it's like he had bricks for feet. Just punt it straight to the opposition defender by complete accident. But at the end of the day, he scored a goal. And it's a goal. It's something that Benteke's been struggling with for a year and a half now. If he wants to be crap right up until he scores a goal, fine with that, so long as he does that consistently. So let's predict a Sørloth goal, and let's hope that we do indeed beat Southampton at home.
I think that Sørloth deserves a chance to start. It's not because I think he has more ability. I think Benteke just needs to know that he has to do more if he wants to keep his starting spot. But the thing with Sørloth is sometimes it just doesn't look like he wants it. He'll just see a ball, he just leave it.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, it's mystifying, right?
Yeah, I just don't really understand it. But yeah, I think I've had enough of Benteke. I know that he's got good XG or whatever it is. And
oh, yeah, that was a pointed comment.
I do actually agree with Alex, but
no, you don't. Shut up.
Okay, maybe not all the time, but he does do more than that for the team. But it doesn't mean he can excuse 3 goals in 35 games and like 20 big chances missed. I think Sørloth deserves a chance because it's not like Benteke is doing anything Sørloth can't really.
Yeah, definitely worth a go, right? I mean, how bad can it be? We bring Sørloth in and he doesn't score. Oh well, no change there then, really. And of course, we do have the extra wild card of Jordan Ayew. If things get really bad, chuck him up front, see what we can do.
Wickham!
Oh, no.
Daly!
Scores with his crutch.
Sure, why not? Let's find some other 16-year-old. Bring in one of the Palace ladies. I bet they're probably better than Benteke. Anyway.
Let's play James Daly.
Yes. Yeah, James Daly. Why not? I mean, there's a pretty obvious reason why not. But it would be nice to see him get a few minutes off the bench, wouldn't it?
It would be nice if anyone came off the bench before the 80th minute.
Yeah. We did actually see that in the cup game.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, by some kind of fucking miracle. I was honestly surprised when Roy brought on whoever the fuck it was, I can't remember, in like the 75th minute. That's unheard of.
It was, well, he made a double sub in the 62nd. He brought on Ward and Townsend.
Oh yeah.
It was just shocking.
Yeah, there's a reason why I couldn't remember when it was, because it's not something that we've ever fucking seen before.
Yeah, that was quite a thing. But hey, I mean, I don't know. We've gone over Roy's substitutions in the past. I don't know. It's hard to wrap your head around it. But
My one bone to pick with Roy. I
I
love him.
yeah, he does it consistently as well.
Yeah, and it's like the Watford game especially. The only reason he brought someone on in the 75th was because we went down 2-0, and that was fucking infuriating. Because if he had brought Mayer on earlier when we were just 1-0 down, we could well have drawn that, no problem.
Definitely. And that's why I think quite a lot of us, whenever we're talking about whatever player we'd like to see given a chance, we're always going, can he start? Because none of us have the kind of faith in Roy to make an early sub. I mean, you occasionally you see some of the top managers doing a double halftime substitution, and you'd have to imagine that. I mean, Selhurst Park would have to explode before Hodgson did that. It would literally, the fans would have to be rioting at the performance of two of the players on the pitch for Roy to do something like that. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe he'll get better at it this season. Don't hold your breath. So, that will be the end of this episode of the SE25 cast. Thank you for joining us. And we will again see you, well, next week, hopefully, unless we're pulling another double pod, which I think is unlikely. But we have the game against Southampton on the Saturday. So with any luck, we will be coming to you on the Sunday or Monday. Thank you everyone for listening, and goodbye.